Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a warm welcome to this edition of the Interface Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. It's exactly 12 midday, and as you know, every Friday, starting from 12 to 2 p.m., we are always here with Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, trying to highlight on what is happening in the country and, of course, trying to pick his perspective on the various issues that are going on. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga, and, of course, I'm your show host. Right here on Digitalk TV. We are streaming live at the Alternative Uganda, that is on Facebook, at Digitalk TV, still on Facebook, at Kizza Besigye, Dr. Kizza Besigye's page, that's still on Facebook. You can find us right there. Feel free to just send in some of your comments. I'll be reading them as we continue with this particular program. There are many people who watch us from as far as the United States. There is Kamoga Franklin Gooding. Thank you so much for watching us from California. People who are watching us from Dubai. We have William, who's from Canada. Thank you so much for tuning in, and everybody. And for those who are watching right here in Kampala, thank you so much. And of course, it's not an easy day, and it's not an easy week in Uganda. It's not easy to survive right here, according to the increasing inflation, according to the various problems that we face. It is always something worth celebrating when you are alive to, get to speak to people, get to watch us, get to, develop your country and make it better. This week, a lot of information and a lot of news has been going around. In schools, there is an outbreak of conjunctivitis, or what you can call red eyes, a condition that is affecting various students and many of the inmates in prison. So be very, very careful. Wash your hands very often. Avoid touching the soft parts, especially the eyes. You'll be able to control this particular condition. And in case it worsens, feel free to consult a medical doctor, and you'll be able to be helped in that particular regard. On the show today, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. The problem of corruption is still continuing, and of course these days we are seeing that it's crossing over literally from the citizenry themselves to the people in parliament to the opposition to everybody everybody seems to be looting. And of course, the challenge is this is just Parliament. And when you look at the August House, it does not even take more than 1 trillion shillings if you look at it critically. There are some other sectors that have not yet been exhibited. We do not know what will happen in case the executive or the cabinet was checked therein, or the judiciary. But maybe let's wait and see how things will be continuing. So the impasse of corruption continues. We recently also received news that the RCC Rubaga, that is Burora Anderson, was suspended. Burora has been very, very intentional about speaking about the issues that are happening, especially in the country. And ironically, he has not been talking about, he has not been pro-government, as many people would have thought he should be. He has been pointing out the issues that have been affecting government. And yesterday, I think, we officially got information that he has been suspended from the position of Deputy RCC, that is Rubaga Division in Kampala District. We'll be looking for Mr. Burora to maybe ask him a few questions here and there on what next after this suspension. And of course, is there an opportunity on a window for him to come back? That is something that maybe we shall also see as we continue with the program. Then also, the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education results, USCE, were released, and of course various students excelled and are now able to, to move on to the next level, that is the university or the tertiary institutions. And many of these young people were able to get 2 principal passes. There are those who even got 3 principal passes, but of course, as always, there are those who are not able to make it. Is this time to talk about the relevance of university education vis-a-vis, skills training? Is it something that we should adapt and, of course, maybe think about it critically? And of course, is university really relevant to the dynamics of how the world is moving today? That is something you should research about and make an informed decision at the end of the day. Of course, earlier last week, we also got information that some of the colleagues that were charged with Kale Kaihura were released also. And of course, all charges were dropped from them. We shall, maybe if we have time, we shall also talk about that. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the Interface Show. You're tuned into Digitalk TV. Feel free to send in those comments. I'll be reading them as we continue with the program. Allow me welcome Dr. Kizza Besigye, who's already here. And of course, it's always a privilege and honor for us to have him on the show. Doctor, you are most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Edgar, and a very good afternoon to all of you who are tuned into Digitalk this day of Friday, as we normally meet here.
Yes, sir.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and thanks to the Digitalk TV for hosting this show. I hope you've had a good week. Like Edgar has said, it's a tough time living in our country, and so every day must be celebrated if you are still hanging in there. I just arrived here from court, where the official persecution of some of us is still going on. This is a case of 2022, charged with incitement to violence. Continuing again today, the prosecutor was not available, so the story continues.
I thought it was supposed to stop in case he doesn't appear this time round.
Yeah, well, they keep on giving excuses, and the intention is very clear.
Okay.
This week, of course, we had some good news with one of our veteran activists, the Deputy Lord Mayor Nyanjura Dolin, having a baby girl. Came as a surprise to many, and including me, because although I was aware she was expecting, I didn't know she was due yet. So congratulations to her and her family for receiving the young Miss Rena. And of course, we are midweek or ending a week Today is Jummah, the first Jummah of the month of Ramadan. And so certainly I must send my Ramadan greetings to my Swahaba and all the Muslim Ummah out there to wish you a good month of Ramadan. Again, not easy to fast in times that are as difficult as they are today. But we believe that Allah will, as usual, provide for His people. So welcome to this week's edition of the Interface. Let's dive into it and talk about what is happening.
A lot is happening in the country. We shall talk about that. We have the formation of a new political party coming through, and of course it's spearheaded by the Katonga faction. We shall be talking about that and much more. But before we start, Doctor, this is the Women's Month, and last Friday was Women's Day. Unfortunately, we were not able to have you. And I just want to start off by hearing your message to the women as they celebrate the Women's Day at this particular, and of course, generally the Women's Month of March 2024.
Well, I indeed must apologize that I was not available last week because, again, like I have pointed out a couple of times, this year started when we are having a lot of movements up and down, and I was again traveling last week. So I must use this opportunity to wish all the women in Uganda and indeed around the world a happy Women's Day and month, and to congratulate all our veteran women activists on continuing to pursue the just struggle for gender equality and for women emancipation. And it's amazing, you know, how in spite of all the work that has been done by women to shine a torch on, you know, women's rights, on women's issues, whether in development or in the social sphere. Yet there is still such an amazing level of ignorance in our country. You know, I have just been reading some remarks made following what I have just talked about, the giving of birth by the Deputy Lord Mayor of Kampala, who is, you know, a very vocal feminist. And it's unbelievable how people perceive what a feminist is.
Yes.
You know, one said, oh, so you can see even a feminist, how can a feminist give birth? It's like feminists are
They're not supposed to give birth, they're supposed to get married.
They're not supposed to get married or give birth. Or, you know, incredible ignorance. And regrettably, this kind of ignorance is not only on the part of men,
Yes.
but ignorance on the part of both gender on what, you know, women's rights and women's issues are. And so, yes, you know, women in Uganda have done a lot along that path, have achieved a lot, But I think there is incredibly much more that needs to be done, especially amongst young people, to understand these issues. And this must be a continuing effort. It would appear that there has been a slackening of that effort, and especially, you know, there was a rhetoric in the politics that, you know, women have come out of the kitchens, you know, they are no longer bound to the kitchen, and they are now having leadership roles. You know, Uganda celebrated having a woman vice president, and now there is a second woman vice president, and a woman prime minister, and a woman speaker, and a woman this and that. And there has been some kind of a slackening of the work that needs to be done to actually empower women. You see, having powerful positions and having empowered women citizens are totally different things. Yes, it helps to have role models for women, to know that yes, a woman can achieve, can be in a position of power. It helps encourage young women, but it can also, you know, create some kind of a slackening of the effort that needs to be made to build empowered women. Because you see, you can be a vice president when you even know nothing about women issues. You can be a woman vice president when you know nothing about women issues.
How so? Isn't that?
Oh yes, it's they are you know, many women who have no idea about women rights, you know, but who have you know, gone to school and been picked by obviously men and put into some positions of power as you know, window dressing. And there is a lot of that window dressing. You know, when we were discussing in the Constituent Assembly the idea of affirmative action for women, for example, we raised the question of using the affirmative action seats as temporary empowerment platforms for women, so that you come to the affirmative action seat, you become visible, maybe you get economically or financially empowered by higher pay and so on, and that then you should leave it immediately and go to compete with men.
Yeah.
That was immediately resisted by the women leaders who were in the Constituent Assembly. They said, no, 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 that is not acceptable. So what has happened is that women come to these affirmative action seats and block them for themselves. So you have all these women, most of the women in parliament on affirmative action seats, sitting on those affirmative action seats for 30 years.
Yeah, Kadaga has been in parliament from 1989 up to now.
Yes, for 30 years you are on affirmative action. You have been a speaker, you have been a deputy speaker, you have been a minister, you have been this, but you still seek affirmative action. That, I think, is one of the signs of, you know, the policies that has been abused in terms of advancing women empowerment. There is no reason why affirmative action seats should not be used once. Use it, get off to contest with women, with other men, let a new woman also get a chance to be empowered. Once empowered, get off, get another woman to be empowered. So you find women themselves frustrate the process of women empowerment selfishly. And it's that selfishness which is in all leadership that is undermining progress in our country. So, but as I have said, I think in spite of all these shortcomings, women have continued to, you know, do great things in encouraging women, in advocating for women education, in raising support for girl child sponsorship in school, in getting skills and so on, which is commendable, and which we must congratulate them for on this year's Women's Week, Women's Month.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to add on that, because you've literally exhausted most of the issues around the women, though the women are also corrupt these days.
It's not these days, all humans.
But in the past, we never thought women would be corrupt. You remember they used to say, put a woman in that position and that position will be safe because they are not corrupt. But it's becoming ironical. These days, they are very corrupt too.
No, there is no scientific evidence to show that women are less selfish or less greedy. But the difference is, I think, that clearly women are more humane. And to that extent, they are more empathetic. And that is because indeed they are mothers. They feel for you know, people and they are suffering.
Okay.
And I think that makes them, though equally corrupt and greedy and so on, makes them you know, slightly better placed to be in positions of leadership than ourselves, I think.
Yeah, well elaborated. Thank you so much. 22 minutes past 12 midday. Thank you so much for tuning into the Interface Show. I'm still with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, and we are highlighting some of the issues that are happening in the country. Let's cross over to the August House, that is the Uganda's parliament. Uganda's parliament has a lot of stories, but before we delve into most of the stories, let's start with a new bill that was tabled in parliament by Honorable Sarah Opendi. This lady seeks to introduce the alcohol control bill that is going to be helping in regulating the consumption, the sale, the advertisement of alcohol. In her regard, alcohol is one of the most difficult problems that we are facing as Uganda. Uganda, as we speak today, ranks, I think, third or fourth as one of the most consuming countries, African countries on the continent, those that consume alcohol. Around the globe, I think we're around fifth or sixth. We are heavy consumers of alcohol. And of course, many of the consumers of this alcohol have, many people think have started to become less productive than they should really be. And of course, there's a question of taxation, because these taxes or this alcohol contributes to a lot of taxation, and many people have said that their parents work in this particular field. Many of our parents are fermenters. They brew alcohol and they actually sell it, and this is also a call to very many people who are in the society, especially in villages or rural areas. Many people depend and survive on the sale of alcohol. So where does this start? And of course, where is the practicability of this particular bill? How practical can it be? Doctor, let me start from there. What do you think of this bill that has been tabled in Parliament, the alcohol control bill?
Well, first of all, I have not seen the bill. I really don't know its content and intentions. But it won't be the first time that there is regulation by law of alcohol consumption. It may be recalled that during the Idi Amin time, there were strict controls. And even at that time, actually, strong enforcement attempt at stopping. There were opening hours for bars, opening and closing hours, where alcohol could be sold was more restricted, and so on and so forth. But did it stop or curb the use or abuse of alcohol? I am not sure. May have even increased it. So I don't know what the movers of that bill have considered in terms of research, in terms of what works, what doesn't work, whether they have looked at other societies in the world and how they deal with this problem. Definitely alcohol abuse is a problem.
But is it a problem in Uganda? When you look at our ecosystem, is alcohol a problem?
I think it is actually. But the question is what tools you need to use to deal with it. Because again, you know, like many other things that they tend to want to jump onto the law as a tool for control. One needs to look at what drives people to alcohol, and whether you may not use other tools to deal with it than just a control, you know, an administrative fiat to say you are not allowed to drink, you are not, you know, those administrative measures have very, very serious limitations. Because the people whom, at least from my own casual observation, tend to indulge are young people who are out of school, who should be in school but are out of school, have no employment, have no guidance, are out there idle and redundant. So, have you looked at how to deal with that problem itself? You know, we all know that, for example, 75% of people who go to school drop out. Do we consider that that should be addressed? Because if kids were in school, they would not be engaging in all these things. So how do we keep kids in school for at least until they are adults? How do we keep kids in school till they are, you know, 16 to 18 years? That would deal with a lot of what we are experiencing very much. Secondly, the whole question of massive unemployment. These are matters that need to be addressed by socio-economic policies that have very serious problems. You know, unless you address them, trying to deal with the consequences that arise out of them is not going to be effective. And then you have other social problems like the breakdown of homes. You know, most of our young people today come from broken homes. They don't have parents living together. They are in single parent homes or no homes at all. They are on their own, wandering. You know, unless you address these very serious social problems, you are not going to achieve much by just dealing with the consequences of those social problems.
But many countries have the same social problems. Let's look at the case study of Kenya here. They have the same problems. Unemployment of young people is there. But averagely, the way they consume alcohol is not like us. Many people, even Ugandans, have said that they think it's a systematic problem.
So this is why I talked about whether there has been any comparative study to understand the dynamics in the different communities. I can't speak authoritatively about what is happening in Kenya, in neighboring countries, or in other parts of the world. But I'm just looking at what is happening here, because I've been living here when the laws were put in place and they didn't work. And in any case, if you want control by an administrative measure, by law prohibiting this, prohibiting that, do you even have the capacity to enforce? Because I mean, look at what else is illegal. Even the brewing of this alcohol is illegal. Yeah. But why haven't you enforced the laws that are there to stop Nguli production?
and then that brings me to an issue. Is this actually intentional? Because, Doctor, sometimes you may think this is just how a community is. But is it something intentional? Are there people who gain from the unseriousness, the drunkardness of Ugandans, that vibe, the party, the happiness, the kind of a mood that feels like Ugandans is always happy, we're always outing, we're always drinking? Is this something that is intentional? It's just a systematic issue in the community?
Well, that is a big debate as to whether the almost total absence of government is intentional, or the the lack of attention to the supply of public goods and services, which has led to the kind of situation that I was describing of young people being, entirely desperate on their own, in broken homes and all this. It's been created by a system of government especially we can now talk about a continuous system of nearly 40 years that has marginalized, massively marginalized people in Uganda. So you're asking, is it intentional? I have, very little doubt that it's a construct that is deliberate to make people vulnerable and therefore easily controllable I believe in the thinking of those who have created this massive vulnerability, because you see them taking advantage of the vulnerability they have created. taking handouts that then you see them happy, you know, like they are helping these, you know, desperate people. That's what they have created an office. I'm sure you are following its activities, the office of the national chairman of the movement, which is the office of handouts. The office of handouts of the national chairman. The office, you know, these whole programs like parish development model, all of them are based on handouts to totally desperate, marginalized citizens that then gather, spend all their days registering for help, doing this and that, and walking to the parish and to the sub-county and to the district. And, you know, it's all, I believe, an intentional approach of controlling and dehumanizing citizens and keeping them on a drip. I believe it's intentional. And, you know, so talking about using the law to control abuse of alcohol or things like that is cynical. In my view, it's a cynical, worthless effort because it will not achieve anything. As I have said, even the laws that are there in respect of alcohol, which alcohol should be on market, which alcohol should be produced, and how, in what circumstances should it be produced. There are many laws that are not being you know, enforced. So what will the new law bring? Absolutely nothing. But they want to occupy space and indeed attention. We are now talking about it. They want to occupy parliament. You know, I think it's a private member. The private member wants to have talking. Yes, wants to have talking things and maybe even divert us from the massive corruption that.
let's go to the corruption itself, because we've said everything on the bill. Let's go to the corruption. Now, the thing is, the massive corruption that has been raised by the people themselves, according to the parliament itself, is too much. Some have accepted those corruption cases. Others are just simply quiet. What does this speak when we have an August House, a representative of the people? When the people request for accountability, they keep quiet, and it's now business as usual.
You see, it's the continuation of what I have just been describing. A construct of a state that is captured by a cabal of people, by you know, a clique of people or a family, capturing a state, capturing all its wealth and its ability to create wealth, and choosing who benefits from that. And that selective enjoyment of national goods and services, and you know, that leads to the massive marginalization, is a system of corruption. So we live in a country that is managed by a system of corruption. And so you cannot talk about fighting corruption, but then you are fighting the state, because the state is constructed on corruption. That's why I have been saying, you know, that if you want to go into politics, you want to go into corruption, because that's the political system is a political system of corruption. You get into a political office by corruption. You must pay tons of money to get into a political office. Whatever political office it is, you must corruptly enter it. You must corruptly stay there because it requires you to continue paying to stay in office. Where do you get that money? Steal it. You must steal it or give it to yourself illegitimately, like those in parliament are doing. Because parliament, and this was a massive blunder by the Constituent Assembly, to say that parliament shall determine its own terms and conditions. In other words, it will pay itself as it sees fit. That was a blank check. So Parliament was given a blank check to fill in the amounts it will consume. And, you know, we cannot talk about the abuse that has been visited on that provision. Because they, you know, and unfortunately, you know, this has happened, has, you know, now become public when all kind of sense of shame has already been drained from the whole country. There is no more shame in Uganda. You know, people feel ashamed, feel embarrassed. It's no longer there because it has been a chronic, it has been a sustained case of scandalous actions that scandal is now normal. Nobody feels scandalized anymore. Otherwise, all these people in parliament would be totally ashamed to get out of their homes. You know? Because if we were living in a normal ethical society where there are values and so on, you know, leaders, people who call themselves leaders, even ostentatiously call themselves honorables.
They are honorable.
They would be so, if we were living in no society, they would be so ashamed to get out of their homes. Or in other societies, they would have already killed themselves. You know? You know, there was a joke that was moving around which was talking about what a person who is found corrupt does in different parts of the world. You know, that, you know, if he was in Europe, maybe he would resign. If he was in China, he would be hanged. If he was in Japan, he would hang himself. If he was in Uganda, he would contest for presidency.
But
He would contest for political office.
yes, he comes for political office. And it's the reality. I know a legislator that I won't mention.
That is what we have to contend with.
But your people,
you know,
are defending such
that
values.
corruption, plunder has been normalized. Why? Because it's the system of government. We live in a country where the system of government is corruption, is plunder. You know, starting from the person at the top, you know, the most corrupt, the most, you know, person that should be in prison is the president. you know. So if you occupy the highest office when you are committing all kinds of scandals, what do you expect the other ones below to do? You know? So we live in a system built on corruption, and this is what I have been advising you know, our people who are focusing on so and so. How did you do this? How did you do this? Let's not waste time focusing on what individuals are doing. Because every individual in the political system will be having problems. So will you focus on everyone? The thing is, we must urgently consider how do we, you know, overhaul this.
Then that means you need to drop the whole government.
Absolutely. How do we sweep the whole rot out and recreate a country that is, you know, livable? And this is why we have been talking about a transition. We will need a transition in which we destroy completely the system that was constructed here for the last 40 years. We must destroy it completely. We must uproot it and destroy it.
And replace it with who? The ones who are supposed to replace are already corrupt
the transitional period is what must be used to reconstruct a system that we need for ourselves. And we should be discussing those two things rather than discussing whether the speaker is so corrupt. Of course she is. Or whether Mpuga did a terrible thing to take 500 million. I think it is terrible because you know others. But it's not the individuals that are a problem. The individuals are in a system that is very problematic. The only way you hang in there is to become a problem also. This is what people don't seek to pay attention to. It's like what we were talking about, focusing on the consequences of the problem, where the problem is massive unemployment, massive dropout of schools, who then go into drinking alcohol, and you pay attention to the drinking of alcohol, not where it has come from. That's our, you know, they call it knee-jerk response, you know, where you hit here and the knee jerks, you know, because it's an automatic response. But there is what causes it, where we should focus. And what is causing all these things we are seeing in the political parties, in the churches, you know, faith-based organizations, in the government, all arms of government, you know. You go to the judiciary, you wonder whether, you know, we still have a judiciary. You go to the civil service, you wonder whether there is still a civil service. You go to the healthcare system, you wonder whether there is still a healthcare. So this massive rot is systemic and systematic. It will not be solved by dwelling on a small issue and trying to turn it around. You know, that there was supposed to be a hospital in Rubowa. Of course there was supposed to be. But so has, you know, the amount of plunder that Mr. Museveni has superintended over for the last 40 years is humongous. I have been, you know, comparing him to what Mobutu did in Congo. It's exactly the same. and it's saddening because, you know, I lived and worked with Mr. Museveni, and he used to talk, you know, terrible about the system of of opulence and corruption that was in Congo. It's unbelievable that he may be like he does always. What he talks against is what he intends to do, and what he's doing, he talks about the opposite. I didn't have the slightest idea that he really aspired to be a Mobutu, you know. So that is what, it's a massive problem that will not be solved by tinkering with the edges. It can't. That there is IGG. IGG is consumed with the corruption also. That there is, you know, criminal investigation. There is no criminal investigation, or even these auditor generals. It's the whole system is infected. The citizens are the only people who can save themselves by uprooting this whole governance system and throwing it aside. And this is why I have been saying the only solution is a revolution. That's the only solution. By removing this whole rot, throwing it away, and building afresh a new system.
I feel like trying to blanket and trying to legitimize the plan of the opposition in blaming the system, blaming the president, entirely. These individuals of opposition who we thought...
You see, this is what I am explaining to you. First of all, I have been as vocal as I can about the misnomer of opposition and government. Those terms are misused. They don't exist in describing what is there today in Uganda. Opposition arises where people give certain people power to run government, and those who have not gotten enough support to run government form a shadow government. So these two systems presuppose that people have power, that they are the ones who are giving power, and they can change and give power this time to this one, next to this one, the other time they can change, you know, that they have power, people have power. That's what is not here. In our situation, I've told you, the problem is state, the capture of the state, the capture of the people. The people are enslaved. They are captured and their power taken away completely. And they are abused and used and plundered as those who capture them wish. You know? All what we are talking about, the plunder, is plunder of the population. They cannot plunder you when you have power. That's why people, Ugandans, since Uganda became a country, have never changed the government. Ever since Uganda became a country, because before Uganda became Uganda, they were different nations. So ever since those nations were smashed and a new country created by foreign power, we have never changed the government. You see? So it clearly shows you people have no power. So they cannot form government. People cannot form government and form opposition. They can't. So those who captured power, who are running the country as they want, they have created a facade, a falsehood that they have created an opposition. It's a falsehood that they are opposition parties. It's a falsehood. There is no multi-party political system. It's a falsehood. So they have created them to legitimize their control of the country, which is obviously illegitimate. But they, in order to legitimize it, they paint some colors on it to make it appear as some acceptable system of government. And so they say, you know, they are parties, whereas parties must have freedom. Can you have parties which are whose hands are tied at the back and you say, I have parties? You see? Because I've been asking, even now, our own people, who you said we will talk about whether they want to create a party. And this is the question I've been putting to our own people. This party, whether FDC that is now captured in Najana Nkumbi, or another one that you create, how will it have power?
Exactly.
You know? I have been seeing now all media, it's full, and I can add on my kalango for him, Mr. Muhozi, or General Muhozi, a serving officer. I think, is it today or tomorrow or the other day, will be in Masaka. And they are mobilizing the whole country to go to Masaka for him to address them. A serving officer addressing a political rally, everybody chanting, he's our next president, in violation of the law and the constitution. But he can hold these rallies. No political party can hold the rally. None. They are not allowed. So you cannot talk about these as being political parties. You are becoming part of the problem if you say we have political parties. They are not there. They are falsehoods which have been created by those who captured the state as means of creating some level of legitimacy for them to continue doing what they are doing. NRM itself is not a party. It cannot be. You know, it's not.
Okay.
That's why anybody who maybe mistakenly thought that NRM was a political party or a public body in which they could also aspire and compete, you know what has happened to them. Everyone who has said, by the way, I can also lead the NRM, they have ended up in a lot of hot soup. And nobody can, until now, when there is nobody, I have not heard anybody now even whisper that they can, you know, lead NRM, you know. So that is the problem that we should address. Not who is corrupt in this massive corrupt system.
Okay. It feels like the leadership in the dissenting voices or the oppressed people is lacking. There is a leadership question therein. Maybe the quality of leaders, the etiquette, the integrity of such leaders, but also generally as we metamorphose into a campaign period.
I agree with you, that there is a leadership deficit.
Allow me, Doctor, go for a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to start from that particular issue, a leadership deficit. And of course, as we are entering a time of politics, it looks like by 2026, hypothetically, if we reach there, the opposition should be down because all problems are literally looking at the opposition. We shall be talking about that and, of course, the new idea of forming a new political party. Doctor has just hinted on that. Is it practical? Is it the selfishness of these leaders that we're talking about? Or is it something that Ugandans can stand to gain from? My name is Edgar. Let's go for a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, Okoda. Do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be normal.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Two minutes past 1 p.m. Ugandan time. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are into the second and final hour of the show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga, your show host, and of course I'm with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. We're still talking about what is happening in the country. I have a couple of messages coming through. I can see Stella Nyanzi is here, Alionzo Godfrey are here, Kwehayo Vanon, you are here, Mutamba Timothy, Ian Asimwe, Akakwenza, Nwagaba, Christopher, Besigye Holik. I'll be reading most of your messages as we continue with the show, so feel free to continue sending them right here. Before we went for a short break, we're still talking about the leadership question and the quality of leadership in what they call the oppressed Ugandans, as Doctor likes to refer to them as that. Rather than calling them the opposition, we like to call them the oppressed Ugandans. So this leadership question, is it contributing? First, Doctor, you highlighted that you agree on it. What do you mean that you agree?
Yeah, the leadership deficit, you see, comes from Because what is a leader supposed to do? A leader should be able to crystallize a challenge that faces the leader and conceptualize how to deal with that challenge, engage others to share into that vision of how to get the solutions and lead to get rid of the solution. So we've been talking about the challenge that we have in Uganda, the political question, you know? And that's what leadership should crystallize and analyze for other people to understand and how it gets solved. But very clearly that has not been the case. You don't quite see focus on saying where do we want to be and how do we get there? How do we deal with the challenges of getting where we want? The process. First of all, where do we want to be? What is our goal? What is our political goal? Where do we want to be? And how do we navigate to get there, considering all these challenges? It feels
like you don't like power. You don't need power. You don't want power yet, according to how we see it.
Even if it is, even if the goal is power, power to who? Power to yourself, power to the people. So that should be crystallized. How do we get there? How do we navigate to get there? What is the path to where we want to be? These are matters that leadership should help to put in place. And I was saying that there is a deficit because, frankly, most of the people that we see as leaders or seeking leadership seem to be seeking leadership, not actually leadership, but management. Because there is a difference between leadership and management. Management, you manage a system that is already there. You are just running it. But leadership sort of creates the path to solutions. And most of the people you see seek to get into offices and to run the offices. They are not focusing on the massive problem in which those offices are found. Because these offices are captured by somebody. So you go into those offices to serve an agenda that is hostile to the people of Uganda. I've been trying to engage our people, you know, whether they are opposition or government. If you go into that parliament, or if you become a councillor, or you become a mayor, whose agenda are you going to serve? Can you really serve an agenda that removes this system that captured the state? Do you have, are there possibilities to do so? But so most of our people, unfortunately, are just focused on getting into positions regardless of what those positions are able or not able to achieve. And in the circumstances, that's why you find many people have no problem even changing sides. He goes to seek an office as an FDC, he doesn't get the flag to run as an FDC. immediately he switches. If they say we have here
Flag.
a flag in DP, he becomes a DP flag there. If that one doesn't achieve, he gets the other one. So he's
It's
clear.
never out of conviction.
So he's clear. So you find that this person is clearly not pursuing a particular objective except himself getting into an office, regardless of how he gets there or what he's supposed to do while he's there. And that, frankly, is the greatest majority of people who pass as leaders today. That's why I say there is a deficit. Because, like I have said, the task at hand, as far as I'm concerned, and we can have a debate on it, the task at hand is to get the country out of the control of those who own it today. The country is owned by a family, in fact, helped by some hangers-on, but it's owned by a family, the whole country. They succeeded others who also owned it. And the fight in most of Africa is a fight for who owns the countries. The population is irrelevant.
Go to Sudan right now.
The population is irrelevant. The fight is on who owns. You push this one so that you become the owner. This one pushes the other one so that they become the owner. Now we are talking about succession. The owner leaving his offspring to succeed the throne. That is what needs to be changed. So the change must involve shift of power from control by few people to popular control. This is what I have been calling a change of sovereignty from personal or family sovereigns to popular sovereignty. From ownership or control of a country by a family or few people or one person to control by the population. So that the struggle at hand in Uganda, therefore, is not a struggle for choosing a leader. No, it's a struggle for shifting power first. If power goes to the people, then people can choose a leader. Today they have no power to choose. They don't have a vote. This is what I have been telling our people. Since 2016, I have been telling them, you have no vote. The whole population is disenfranchised. And we still can't get it. So that is where the leadership deficit is. We are producing leaders who would otherwise be needed to serve in a democratic system, not to fight for a democratic system. So the leaders we need now are leaders for a war of liberation. Those are the leaders we need now. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Not, Musibatai, who is, just waiting to address people and to talk about policies and so on. There is no way to talk about policies here now.
Lastly, on this issue, do you think you are going to achieve that goal with the problems that you are having as the oppressed? It feels like you are at your worst now.
Who?
As the oppressed.
Are you among them?
Yes.
So why do you ask me in the...
You are a symbol of all of them. You are the
Because you
symbol.
should be saying, what should we do?
you are the symbol.
But who is not among the sovereigns, if you are not among the royal family or that governs Uganda, that has absolute power, then the question you are asking goes to you, to them, all of us. If we don't succeed to liberate ourselves, we shall become finished. Slowly but surely, we shall become finished. Just like we are getting finished now, either because we have no health care, because we have all these, starvation going on, malnutrition and starvation around the country, people dying off slowly, all dying off from disease that they cannot deal with, or the numerous road accidents because of the terrible roads on which we move and so on. We shall slowly but surely get finished.
Sad.
So, this is not a question for me. It's a question for all Ugandans who aspire to live in a country in which they have power, a country in which they can share in the promises of the country, the wealth that the country has, the opportunities that the country has. If you want to share into all that, then the time to fight is now. You know, it's depressing. I was yesterday looking at some video from Tanzania where they were opening these electric trains, you know, and all this is possible for sure. In Tanzania, a lot of that has changed in the last 15 years.
Yes. 10,
you know?
in fact.
So within a short time, a lot can happen in a country. But it won't start happening unless all our wealth starts working for us. All you have here is how do we extract more from us? You know, I was reading today, they have renewed the appointment of the leader of Uganda Revenue Authority, a man called Musinguzi. Musinguzi was one of my prosecutors also at some time. He was in the security system that was prosecuting me. And they were in that article where he's being reappointed saying there has been a deficit, a shortage in the taxes they expected to raise. So now his task is to work extremely hard to collect more taxes from us. And they are already preparing how to do so. You know, to increase this tax, increase the other tax, increase this tax, and sack more. Sack more to serve who? To serve those billions you have been reading about that are being squandered by a handful of people. So the suction, the pull from, you know, already emancipated citizens, they must pay more. That's what Mr. Musinguzi and his tax machine, you know, are going to be doing. Sucking from everybody, including, of course, from the businesses that would provide employment to our people. So more businesses are going to close because Musinguzi is coming to collect the little money that was still in the drawer. He's coming for it. and the business, so which was employing 3 people, they are also going to go on the street. So this is what, if we don't stop this,
Yes, sir.
this is what is going to be happening. We are going to get finished. It's urgent. It's, I don't know how I can express it. It's extremely critical and urgent that a revolution happens in this country. That this parasitic, destructively parasitic cabal, clique, mafia, that it is uprooted and Uganda recast afresh.
All right, thank you, Doctor. 20 minutes past 1 p.m. Doctor, let me come to you. You even hinted on it, the question of taxation. Among the new taxes that are proposed to be brought, there is that house tax of 18%. And now this comes at a time when houses, especially in Kampala, have all literally increased their pay. To stay in a decent house in Kampala, you need to pay a lot of money. And away from that, many people are looking at it from a fact that many foreigners, some refugees, are taking over these spaces, and Ugandans are failing to pay this money. And the landlords are telling the tenants, if you can't pay this money, there is another man who's going to pay the money. This is mostly common along Gaba or Makindye division. You will find there are some places where you won't even find any Ugandan there. It's a community that has been taken up by these people. What do you think about this particular situation? Before I ask you if the foreigners are a problem themselves.
You see, what I have been describing to you, you are now putting it in concrete terms. The Ugandans getting finished and being replaced. That is a process that will easily go on until the few indigenous Ugandans will be sustained by some affirmative action measures. That's what happened to communities that became extinct. You know, the indigenous Americans, the indigenous Australians, the indigenous Canadians, the indigenous New Zealanders, the indigenous, they were finished.
Yes.
Those who are still surviving, a few, they are being kept on some affirmative action programs. You see, that will happen. Oh, the people who occupy those countries came from elsewhere.
Yes.
That process is
Very
going
true.
on here, right before our eyes. It is going on here.
Do Ugandans know what you're saying?
It is going on here, and you have just talked to it here in Kampala, where it is visible. This place where we are is called Rukuli, I think. It's in Makindye division.
Yes.
Just getting out of this studio and walking on the streets of Rukuli, you may not be mistaken to think that you are in another country by the looks and the language of the people who walk the streets here. You know, the foreigners.
Yes.
The shops, or the small shops.
Even the small businesses.
You know,
these small ones. These smallest ones.
They are the ones who inhabit. Now, this is Rukuli. The same is happening in other areas. And this happens as always in colonies. So previously, Kampala used to be colonized by Ugandan communities. You had Echifumbira, Echitoro,
Yes.
Karamoja, you had the Ugandan tribes colonizing Kampala.
Yes.
Now it is Somali, Hindi, Hindi Javavera,
Yes.
China, it is foreigners taking over and the Ugandans heading for the...
They're going to further, now we're finding them in Igangu.
Yeah, they are heading
They have left Kampala.
For the extinction. So that process is related to the system of governance that we are talking about. You are talking about taxes on housing.
Yes.
Yes. The houses, because Ugandans are marginalized economically, they will not afford the housing that is in Kampala. And so the policy is to push them out. You saw how Naguru, where there was low-cost housing, the Naguru, Nakawa estates were all erased on the pretext that an investor was coming to build a city there. Of course, we now know that they are sharing the land amongst those same usual suspects. The land here, which used to have the railway estates, and the land which used to be in Ruzira for, where no people could, all these lands have been taken over and they are creating accommodation for different type of people. The schools which were for ordinary people, Shimoni, was removed and taken somewhere so that different people can come there. I told you that taxes is a policy that will continue to further marginalize all these. You were talking about tax on houses. That has two effects. First of all, it discourages the construction of houses. There is already a housing crisis. But I can't invest the little money I have in building houses for rent only for Musinguzi to sleep at my door waiting for what he's put in my hands and he takes it away. So I would rather go and drink it or do something else rather than provide Musinguzi something to come for.
Yes, sir.
So it discourages housing. It discourages investment. And therefore, once you discourage investment, you are discouraging jobs. Because the people who would be on the construction sites now have no jobs. The people who would be in shops doing work and doing this or that, they will not be there because the business is no longer worthwhile investing in, and I will close it, and those who are employed will get out. And those unemployed have nowhere to stay, so they are pushed out. And so they will start their journey to becoming slaves in the Arab countries or to find a way of crossing the Mediterranean Sea to get into Europe.
And sometimes die. But then, Doctor, now this brings me to another question of these foreigners themselves that we are talking about. Look at the economy of our country. This economy has been taken up by the foreigners. They own the banks. Literally, Uganda does not have any homegrown bank. Most of the big franchises, all the money that Ugandans procure from these things, it all goes back to another economy. How will a Ugandan really become rich?
We don't need to dwell on this. This is what exactly what we've been describing by capture. You see, those who captured the Uganda, that is Mr. Museveni and his family, they their allies have to be foreigners because they think, and rightly maybe, that those don't have political ambitions here. So if the Indians or Chinese or Europeans that are here are rich, they are not going to contest for president. But if you, Edgar, become rich, then you start questioning whether he's governing you well or not, and whether you should not replace him. So that's why naturally his allies will be foreigners. And that's why you have Penetti. Penetti marketing coffee, marketing tea, marketing what, and they want to build hospitals, and they want, and not to build hospitals even with their money, but with our money, and so on and so forth. Yes. So that is the structure of the state capture. And this is, so we should not dwell on it. I have already said that the only way to get out of this whole process of extinction for us is to fight today, to create a change of system. In other words, to carry out a revolution.
Yes, sir.
Is an imperative. We will not get out of this softly, no. Okay. We have to fight and break out of captivity.
Okay. 30 minutes past 1 p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in, all of you that are tuning in right about now. We have 30 minutes to end this particular show. And of course, I have a couple of messages coming through. Allow me first to read a few of those that... Mutamba Timothy Nayebare, I wish you appear on ballot paper 2026, my president. He has talked about that before. Kwehayo Vernon, congratulations to Kampala Iron Lady. Nyanjura, congratulations. Then Stella Nyanzi says, we welcome our baby girl. Congratulations to Doreen. Tatina, Wama teach us feminists are human beings, not animals. Feminists are human beings, not machines. We must continue teaching about the struggle for women's rights. Thank you so much, Stella Nyanzi, for watching us. Ian Asimwe, we own Kizza Besigye. Kano, Besigye Holic says, Kano, the systematic rot is a policy designed by Genome 7. He thrives on a broken government because at the end he becomes the government and organs of the government. Then Charles Wanga says, we live in a country where corruption and plunder is a system of governance. Kwehayo Vernon says, Doctor, I request you to give a piece of advice to RDCs who are working for the government and evil to citizens on behalf of their bosses. The same big boys are crying for the public, including Mr. Eric, who announced a ginger out of bounds for opposition. He will answer that. Wile Mateo, you're watching. Kano Ugandans have never tasted the sweetness of people power. They will therefore not appreciate your assertions that Ugandans have no power. You can't know the goodness of what you have never experienced. That is what this gentleman says. Peace Asingwide, Dr. Kizza Besigye, what is your take on Mr. Museveni's series of deception to Ugandans and the world at large? The man who can accommodate both Ruto and the opposition leader Odinga, visiting the West, then to the East, and to China. What do you dissect in this level of cunning? Francis Seblime, thank you so much for watching. Says, thank you, Doctor, the only person who talk politics, and I understand in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first stop there. I'll be reading some of your messages subsequently. Maybe let me finish, or let me end with Nwagira Rwacha Hinda David. Doctor, talk about the critique by Muhoozi Museveni's son about killing the opposition in the next parliament, that his party will be with more members and turn himself into the leading party. Yes, that is Nwagira Rucha Hinda David. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be reading most of your comments. Keep sending them through. I'll be reading them as we continue with the program. Doctor, do you want to address any of those questions posed to you?
Yeah, well, yes. First of all, obviously, to thank all those that have been on the show and that have taken time to send messages. I'm grateful. And especially to thank those that are congratulating our friend Doreen. Thank you, Stella, to continue championing the struggle for freedom generally and of women particularly. The RDCs, you see, I hope you have read the Animal Farm. If you haven't, you should look for it. That small book by George Orwell and read it about a revolution that animals carried out seeking to gain control of the farm on which they were being held by some man and, and exploited and abused. And they successfully carried out a revolution. But then the pigs, amongst the animals that carried out the revolution, the pigs turned against the other animals and they became the new exploiters. And in the process, because the other animals started asking questions, the pigs took away dogs and trained them to become vicious against anybody who would raise an issue against the pigs, the way the pigs were running the farm now. And so every dictator needs dogs. And that's what the RDCs are for. to act on behalf of the sovereign, to make sure nobody disturbs the peace and the power of the person who is dominating, and eventually they are expendable. When they have served their purpose, that's what, even in that Animal Farm, the loyal boxer, who worked ever so hard and believed Napoleon was always right. Napoleon was the chief pig. And was loyal. Eventually was sold to the horse slaughterer.
Yes. Never to come back.
So when these RDCs have done, are no longer useful. They are discarded. Okay. That's what they don't seem to appreciate. Now, the question of somebody raised an important question: whether our people can appreciate something they have never experienced.
Yes.
And that is very true. Part of the reason we are in the situation where we are is that we are the current generation of slaves.
Oh.
You see, our ancestors up to us have never been masters of their land. So we have no experience of being masters.
Yeah.
We have only a history, ancestry, culture of being slaves. And that's why even within our languages, there is a glorification of being downtrodden. It's talked about in glorifying ways. We say in the land of the cowards, they are laughing. In the home of the brave, they are crying. So it's all right to be a coward. And we also have a saying that you would rather be humiliated than die. It's better to be humiliated than to die. So humiliation is taken as acceptable because there is worse, which is dying. But humiliation actually, in other societies where they have lived in freedom He said, I'd rather die than be humiliated. But because we have a culture of humiliation, our ancestors were humiliated. We have been born in humiliation, so it's acceptable. So we have a bigger duty to paint the picture of ownership, because we have never owned. And that's why it is taking us long to build a critical mass of people that are hungry to own their country. You see? Because even domestic slaves, when there was a struggle to abolish slavery, domestic slaves were saying, no, we are all right, don't disturb us.
Yes.
You know, we are eating, we are sleeping, why are you disturbing us?
They meant that they even gave freedom and they refused to go.
Yes.
They said, let's stay.
Exactly
Born
like what
servants.
you were hearing here. Tucheba kakutulo.
Yes.
At least we are sleeping. You know, you would hear citizens say, at least we are sleeping. Don't disturb us. At least we can now sleep. And indeed you hear those people who captured our country saying, you know, we brought peace. Our people now enjoy peace, meaning that at least they are not being killed as much as they were keeping, and that is to be celebrated, you know. So, yes, this is part of the problem. We don't know ownership. And that's why even leadership, the concept of leadership, and those who are fighting to be leaders, they aspire to be owners of our country rather than servants. So the revolution we want to happen is to create owners and masters in people and servants in leaders. And that's why, so, you know, some time back I said, even when the revolution is over, I don't want a job in the government. And people saying, now what do you mean? You know, you must take the leadership. No, because I will be a master. I will be among the. I will.
Boss.
Yes, I will employ servants to serve me. Why should I again, having fought and suffered so long? Why should I be a servant?
Yes.
So that is an important thing.
Okay.
Somebody was seemed mesmerized by Mr. Museveni hosting Ruto with Odinga and maybe working with the Russians and the Americans at the same time. You see, there are struggles at two levels. As I have said, the first level is to become citizens and have citizen power. To have citizen rights. To own, citizen means the owner of our country. That's the first struggle. But the second struggle, which is not any less struggle, is how we fit in with other countries and powers in the world. And let's make no mistake, Mr. Museveni, as indeed all his predecessors, have been linked and been servants of foreign powers. And no doubt about it, you know. And to think that Mr. Museveni is has some bravado of playing or every is not understanding, because just like all other Africans, they are just pawns also of foreign powers. That's why they are called, taken by, you hear, India, Africa Forum, and they collect all of them to go to India to be addressed by the head of India. Then the next day they are taken to Japan, Africa Forum. Then they are taken to Russia. They were in Russia the other day, Russia holding an Africa Forum for all these heads of state. France, Africa, you know, so they are internationally. And that's not a matter that each country can resolve. No. We need a collective of African patriots or African nationalists. And nationalists are not just by, you know, sloganeering like Mr. Museveni does with his four principles of NRM, patriotism, nationalism, I don't know, Pan-Africanism, I don't know. These are not, and that he has patriotism classes. These are not about, you know, politicking with those terms. No. First of all, we must have an internally free country. The free country that Uganda becomes must then interact with other free nations. The problem is that most of Africa does not have free nations. So we have to first of all liberate.
As you conclude.
Yes, we have to liberate the country.
Yes, sir.
The liberated country must link up with other liberated countries of Africa to liberate the whole continent and form a collective that can then relate with the other strong powers of the world.
Okay.
That is a process that hasn't yet begun as we talk. And lastly, I think
in a minute or two.
the last issue that was raised was about the Muhoozi formation, which is now commonly called the Perau, becoming the next opposition. I'm sure that is an interesting scenario they would like to see. So that even now the opposition is increasingly the loyal opposition, opposition that, you know, answers to Museveni.
Ceremonial.
Yes, that answers to Museveni. You can see the election in Dokolo now. You know, you find most of the candidates there are Museveni's candidates, whether they are putting on blue, green, they are all his Bazukuru, from which he is choosing one. Yeah. So that is a likelihood, and I think maybe it is as well, it may help to demonstrate the ridiculousness of the kind of parties that we have now and the constructed opposition that is there now.
Okay. Speaking of political parties, it brings me to the new formation by the Katonga faction. There is an idea that you're going to be starting a political party. How did you, as the Katonga faction, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but you and the members and your colleagues, how do you come to such an idea, if it's actually true?
Well, I expect you being in the media to know the truth, because we have ever been transparent in what we do. All our communication has been with all media houses.
Yes.
We held a national council recently, which was attended by all media houses, at which decisions were made
Yeah.
to consult with the party base of FDC on how to proceed in view of what has happened to the party headquarters and some few people allying with Museveni to disorganize the party. And that consultation has already begun. We consulted the leaders of Wakiso to start with. It's going to go on across the country. And it's the party, the people at the bottom to determine how we proceed. But having said that, you see, I told you earlier that we cannot have a multi-party political system under the current circumstances. So whatever organization our people engage in, it must be to link up with also other people to fight first of all for freedom. Because you cannot have a party that has no freedom. If there is no freedom, eventually it will be also captured. Even if you create a new one, it will be captured. You create another one, it will be captured. So we must first focus on liberation, and that's what I hope we are all focusing on now.
Okay, I have a message here. Doctor, I support the fight of actions not through political parties again. We are tired of these fake ideologies and so-called democracy in a non-democratic situation. This is Ugandan Richie saying that. Mwesige Joram from Kienjojo says, the challenge we have is partly socialism that gives away our freedom to others to use our resources using damned democracy. I thought this would be more of capitalism than socialism. And many people have said this because capitalists seem like they are legally stealing from you.
No, what is here is not capitalism or socialism. As I said, it's just a capture of the state and plunder. Capitalism is a system of how to create wealth and how to use the wealth you create, just like socialism. But what is happening here is state capture and plunder. So this has nothing to do with capitalism or socialism.
Okay, there is no capitalism or socialism. Okay, there is Serwanga Alex. He says, "We love you, doctor. You could have won the dictator if it wasn't that so-called Buganda caucus, because they are the hypocrites in the struggle for change." He says, "I strongly support the formation of a new party." There are still many members who still believe in political parties in the country.
You see, political organization is mandatory if we have to fight. You must organize. So whether you call it a party or call it something else, you must be organized in order to fight. And I have been saying that even in whichever way you organize, you must also link up with other organizations so that you have a united front to fight. The two are not in conflict. What would be wrong is to organize, call yourself a party, and try to behave as an ordinary political party in a multi-party political system, which does not exist.
Okay, yeah.
So whatever organization it is, it must be structured and focused on fighting first.
Okay.
To reclaim the country.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Thank you so much. There are still messages coming through. I have Kwehayo Davis. Most of you are just sending congratulatory messages and thanking Dr. for doing a very good job. Just a few here. I already read Serwanga Alex. We love you. You could have won Buganda caucus. Okay. Let me see here. We have Francis Seblime. You are also thanking the doctor for a job well done. Let me see. Asimwe also thanking Mazima, Dr. KB. All right, thank you. All of you mostly are thanking the doctor for a job well done. Doctor, as we come to the end of the
Yes, as we come to the end of this, I heard someone saying there, you know, you would have succeeded. The problem was Buganda caucus.
Yes, Buganda caucus.
We have to be extremely careful because the sure way to remain captives is to allow anybody to divide us.
Okay.
And all people who capture states or nations or dominate others, they develop skills, high level of skills of dividing those they are dominating. Because they are few, they must not allow those they dominate to work together. Because if they work together, then they are finished. And, you know, in fact, I even think that the debate about corruption and the way it has been applied has definitely a hand of the junta in trying to use it to divide those they dominate.
Okay.
So we must very scrupulously avoid issues that cause artificial divisions. And these are usually a tribe. They are usually parties. Say, you know, this party is better than the other one. This one is a problem, and or regions or religions, and so on and so forth. We have to be extremely careful to remain united and to build greater unity to free ourselves.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Zambali Blasio Mukasa, watching us, one of our colleagues in the media. Doctor, give us your parting shots as we come to the end of this particular discussion.
Well, once again, to thank all of you who continue to become our audience and to contribute views and ideas to us, those which are read and those which are not shared, but we read them and they help enrich the conversation. So thank you so very much. Secondly, to really indicate or underscore the urgency with which all of us need to act to get out of the quagmire of the mud in which we are stuck, and the need for each and every one of you to be active in that struggle. And I have said that there are two things that are critical immediately. First of all, to get everybody to understand the problem and the urgency with which we need to solve it. But secondly, to organize so that we can have concerted action, so that we can act together against those who are dominating us. So wherever you are, please create blocks of people that want change, regardless of which, whether they are NRM, whether they are FDC, create blocks of those who want change. And together, let's coordinate to say enough is enough. We are moving around the country. We shall be reaching out to you wherever you are in the country. First of all, to consult with our leaders, but secondly, to talk to the people, to the population. We know that, as usual, they will try to obstruct us, and if they do, be prepared to resist, because without resistance, we shall not get where we are going. Thank you very much. I wish you a wonderful week ahead. And to our Muslim brothers in the fasting period, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is a book written by Ruzia Kuikiriza. She says, "Cancer ate my bones, God preserved my spirit." It's an experience of a lady, very influential at that, who goes through and battles various stages of cancer and actually won them. So she tells her story in this particular book. So grab yourself a copy. You can call 0701 800 212. At 60,000 shillings, we will deliver it to you. If you're in Kampala, delivery is free. If it's outside Kampala, we can get a small price that we can put and have this book delivered unto you. So please grab yourself a copy. My name is Edgar Matthew Karhanga at exactly 1 minute to 2 p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in. Those who sent us the messages, thank you so much. I want to thank my colleague Bernard, who's on camera, Mr. Arnold Mukose, who has been in the production, and of course the entire population who continues to watch us each and every day. We are having an audience grow literally every day. We are growing every day. So thank you so much for the viewership, for everything that you do. You can advertise with us. You can call Mr. Mukose's Arnold's number 0701 800 212, or you can just send us a message directly through our social media platforms in case you want to advertise with us. We do live streaming, we do events organizing, we do photography, we do videography, and a lot of that. Feel free to just contact us and we will be here to serve you. My name is Edgar from the entire team. God bless you and God bless Uganda.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.